Welcome, everybody, to the Stitch and Hustle podcast show. My name's Jacob with Leathercraft Nation. So I want to talk about pricing. It seems to be a hot topic as far as how to price your items that you're selling, whether it's leather goods, whether it's woodworking, jewelry. I promise you can take something away from what we're going to be talking about today. So if you're ever thinking about selling something and you're struggling with how to price it, we're going to break it down by understanding what your costs are. So first off, right out the gate, you've got to understand your material cost. You've got to understand what it actually takes to make what you're making if you're struggling with pricing. So once you factored in the cost, and here's the other thing, with the economy the way it is, you've got to understand that there's going to be inflation. Either it's going to go up or down one way. So you need to adjust for that. So anybody that's thinking about selling an item, you've got to understand your material costs. You got to understand that if you have to buy something online, you have to factor in the shipping, you have to factor all of that into your item. The next thing is you've got to factor in your labor cost. And your labor cost is, well, what do you want to get paid? This isn't about profit yet. We'll get to that here in a bit. But what do you want to get paid? And starting out, it might be where you don't get paid. If you're doing this as a side hustle, you might not be getting paid. And I know that sounds horrible, but the fact is that the profit margin is so small that it's not feasible to get paid. It would be more beneficial to go ahead and reinvest that back into your side hustle starting out. And I'm kind of going at this the direction of the side hustle because that's exactly where I'm at. And that might change as I start to grow. Maybe one day the side hustle turns into a full business and I can go full time. And then of course, I can restructure it based off of my experiences. And that's all this is. This is my experience and how I price things. So just note that, this can be different for everybody, but the principles of the material cost and your labor is all the same across the board. So the other thing that you've got to consider if you're really trying to dial down where your money's going is you've got to understand any type of other cost, any type of overhead. So if you're operating any type of machinery that takes electricity, you want to factor a percentage of that in your cost somehow, some way. You've got to factor that in because the fact of the matter is you use it. You might use consumables like if you're welding, you might use certain oxygen and acetylene. I'm not a welder, so if I'm getting that wrong, leave a comment below, let me know. But you've got to think about that in your cost, and then the material cost while I'm thinking about it. So if you're a woodworker, getting into it, you're thinking, okay, well, I'm just using wood. Well, no, you're using wood, you're using glue, you're using nails. There's a lot of consumables that might go into what you're making. So be sure to include the consumables on that. The other thing that you want to consider is any type of preventative maintenance cost. And I know this sounds crazy, but so for instance, like if you have an air compressor and you have an air compressor hose, well, that hose might not last forever. So if you were to add in a few cents, for the items that need to be replaced, consumable parts, I would definitely figure that in as well. Along with your machines, you've got to pay for your machine somehow, right? So I'm not saying that you should have a item that you're pricing for $50 and be like, oh, I forgot about the machine and I want to charge, an extra $100 to cover the cost. No, it's to put a little back each time to help pay for the expenses. That's all. And it doesn't have to be done overnight. You're doing this little by little, because if you buy a machine, I'm hoping you're buying a quality machine that's going to last you for years. So it's not something that, unless you're just, I guess, trying to pay it off faster and you have the room in your pricing to adjust for that and to add that in, by all means. And that's why I'm talking about, right out the gate, being able to reinvest in your business or your side hustle. Especially if you, like for me, this is my side hustle. I don't necessarily need all of this for a second income. Exactly, Logan, it's a long-term investment. So, I forgot where I was going, but either way, factor that in, factor the cost of your equipment, because yes, it's a long-term investment. Oh, what I was going to say about the pricing is, if you have a large enough margin, and like I said, with me being this being a side hustle, I'm reinvesting that money into my side hustle because I'm trying to grow that, and hopefully one day it'll grow into a livable income. So, all right. The next thing is determining your profit margin. So if you've gotten to a point where you want to make money for yourself and you want your business to be profitable, once you figured out all your material costs, your overhead, what you're going to pay yourself, if you even are going to pay yourself, then you've got to have a profit margin on top of that, because you can't just break even like that. That's not the point. I mean, you can, but you're not going to last very long. Backyard Leather, the sewing machine is a Juki 8700. And that is, since we're talking about cost, that is something that's just sitting there. I'm hoping one day I can get into it. I'm trying to get it slowed down. I have a smaller pulley. I'm trying not to get a speed reducer because those cost more than what I want to spend right now. So, but it's a 8700H. They're heavy duty one, and it works great. Like it'll go through multiple layers of leather, especially like for smaller goods and stuff. I really like it. It's just I need to get it slowed down. I'm not used to sewing leather, so I mean, if anybody doesn't know about leathercraft and sewing machines, once that needle goes in the leather, there's no going back. So you're gonna have a hole. So I'm still getting used to that. So yeah, once you've figured out your pricing and you know the base price to break even, what percentage do you want to make over that? Do you want to make 5, 10, 15%? And that's something that you've got to look into. So if you have an item that only costs you $5 and you have a 10% margin, yet you can sell that thing for $20, by all means sell that thing for $20. You don't have to have the same profit margin for every single item. They can differ, and they should. So once you've understood all of your overhead, once you've understood your baseline, Now you've got to consider what the market value is on it. And this is a touchy subject, and a lot of people might not agree with this, but when you're pricing your items, if you're pricing, whether it's woodworking, jewelry, leathercraft, metal, it doesn't matter. But if you're pricing your item and it's comparable to someone else's item, same materials, same everything, don't think that you had to price it the same as them. That whole mentality of, oh, well, so and so does it for this price, or I can get it off of Amazon for this price, especially if you're making handmade goods. I hate it when people say, well, I can get it off of Amazon for this much. Great, go to Amazon and get it. And yes, I get it. You'll get it in 2 to 3 days. Mine is going to be 2 to 3 weeks. Yours is going to fall apart in 2 to 3 days. And mine's going to last for years. So, good morning, Denton Laser Engraving. How's it going? So, by all means, I purchase from Amazon and get stuff, but if you're pricing your stuff, like, you should know that you should be paid for your time. You're valued by the experience that you have. Now, if you're going into this and you have no experience, you've got to work that. You got to factor that in, I guess, as you're learning. But as you get there, like, you should be compensated for your time and in your experience. I'm not going to price my things the same as someone that has only been doing it for a month. And I'm not going to price my things as if someone has done it for 10 years. I might actually price my things more than someone that's done it 10 years. Just because you've been doing it for a while doesn't mean you're doing it right. I just want people to understand that when you're pricing your items, you don't have to be constricted to the market and what they price it. Because here's the thing. When a company can charge $10,000 for a handbag, whether it's good quality or not, and of course I know, brand names are a big deal, but the fact is that if I want to charge $100 for a wallet where everybody else is charging $75, as long as you have some sort of value in it, I think you can get away with it. Here's the other thing. When pricing your items, and if you have a good following, and I'm not talking about taking advantage of anybody, but once you've understood your value, once you've understood your margins, your baseline, everything that you need, once you've built a relationship with the followers, once you've made that connection, people are going to be more likely to purchase from you because they've built that relationship with you. They understand you. They trust you. Whereas, say, if you were to get something from, say, Louis Vuitton, I don't know anybody from Louis Vuitton. I don't see any of their videos. I don't see how they're making my product if I were to buy from them. But if I follow a woodworker, a metal worker, or some other crafter, and I really like their technique, I like their personality, they make some good content, like you start to trust them, you start to build a relationship with them, and you want to support them. And I think that's where some of the pricing comes in is, again, this will differ for a lot of people, but if you're building a following and you're trying to go at this at the, content creation side of it, you're trying to build your channel while making some stuff, then you might want to factor that in as, you know what, these are for the people that want to support me, and let them know, hey, you can be perfectly honest today. I know I'm not the cheapest. I know, but I appreciate anybody's support. Now, if you just want to, sell things all day long, then you might have to adjust that a little bit. I wouldn't go too far. Like, people have gotten into this mindset that if they're pricing stuff, they see this wallet and they're like, crap, they're selling it for $30. I can't make any money. What the crap? And unfortunately, some customers will not look into the details. And so you have to be very, very clear of those details. So if you're selling leather goods or woodworking, and like for me, if I make a wallet and I'm selling it for $75, and then someone else on Etsy or whatever is selling a similar one for $20, well, why is it $20? They're using genuine leather. Genuine leather's crap. I'm sorry if anybody's in here using genuine leather, but genuine leather is crap. It's not good quality. It's not going to last long. It's going to fall apart. And if you are making it, $20 is probably a good price for it, because guess what? That's what Walmart is charging. It's $20, maybe $15 for a genuine wallet. And I've had one of those wallets before. Hey, nothing to it. It has this little brass plate on it that says genuine leather. Like, they're proud of it. Let's see. Let's look at your comments. I use time, material, and energy for my cost, for my base price for my laser time. Exactly. You've got to factor everything in. Can't leave anything out. We have different pricing depending on the market of that specific item. Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. It is going to be different depending on the market. And certain areas are going to be different also. So if you're not selling online, which I don't understand why you're not, but certain areas might be different, because like for me, when I was primarily doing woodworking on CNC and stuff, I could not sell crap here in my town where I live. Could not hardly sell anything. But they were selling like hotcakes online, in which I actually prefer that. If you're doing marketplace, great. The only thing that I don't like is it gets old meeting up with people, if that's how you're doing it, or trying to arrange time for them to come pick it up. That again, that's personal preference. It might work out for you, but for me, like Etsy or your own website is like perfect, because, well, at your own pace, you can slap a label on it and drop it off, when you want to that day. So, I hate working around pickups. I know that sounds selfish, but I didn't think about that. Didn't Laser says the new scam is that they ask you for your cell to text you a number for meeting up. Interesting. No, I hadn't come across that, but that's a good point. That's definitely a good point. We did just marketplace for a year. We're working on transitioning online now. Perfect. Yeah, and I'm not knocking anybody that's doing Facebook Marketplace because that's exactly where I started. So I did Facebook Marketplace for about a year. I was doing wood CNC work, and then I got my laser, and we were doing ornaments for the holidays. And what was crazy is I still sold more on Marketplace where I had to ship them from to a different state. It's crazy. But then it got to a point where I don't know if it was just like the influx of ads and everything else. Because I don't know about you, but anytime I look at anything on Marketplace, it shows everything but what I have here locally. And it gets frustrating. Even when you hit that local tab, like it still filters in stuff that isn't anywhere near where I'm at. So I don't get that. All right. Let's see here. So we talked about your market, different pricing strategies. So one thing that I thought was interesting that I came across was the psychology of pricing. And I kind of talked about it for just a second, but I want to go more in depth. So for people that are purchasing items, and I don't know if you've ever done this, and I'm guilty, and that's why I know it works. So if you have a product that it takes $5 to make, and you sell it for $10, and then you also have an identical item somewhere else, and you're pricing it for, say, $30 or $40, like a considerable difference. And say you repackage it with a different company name, like something, but then you show that to someone and they're like, well, I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with the $10 one. I bet the other one's better, because it's more expensive. So I'm going to buy the more expensive one. Okay. Does it work all the time? Maybe not. Who knows? But just think about that, that just because someone else is pricing their item low, maybe they don't know how to price things. And you should take advantage of that and price a little bit more. And it's kind of like, you go into the grocery store and you see 2 cans of soup next to each other, and one's the store brand, the other one is a national brand, well known, better packaging because they had a really good graphic designer and they know that they could sell it. So you spend 30% more for the name brand, and then come to find out they come from the same manufacturer and they slap a different label on it. Let's see. Let's go back and look at some of the comments. Let's see. So Denton was talking about, I guess y'all got a conversation going on talking about shipping. I love that. Pirate ship. Yeah. Pirate ship. I love anybody that's getting into Etsy. And I like Etsy. If you are looking into their shipping options, though, and y'all probably know if y'all do Etsy, where the price of the shipping is not cheap. And I know shipping's not cheap, period. But yeah, a pirate ship for me anyway in my area was coming out cheaper than what Etsy's shipping discounts were giving me. So I wonder if y'all were experiencing the same thing on that. So been slowly been upping our prices. I was nervous with the regular customer this week, but they paid right away with a quote that was three times what it had been. Shoot, yeah, that's the way to do it. Like, oh, it gives me a headache. People have got to understand that, one, inflation is real. And I'm not talking about just, okay, well, my material costs went up, and that's all I have to deal with. But shoot, no. It's not just your material cost. It's your electricity, your gas, your wages. So your labor cost, if you're paying yourself an X amount, now you should be paying yourself more. All that has to be figured in. So perfect. That's great for charging more, and that they're okay with it. People should be okay. Now, I'm not saying price gouge, but people should be okay with increasing their prices. And I'm not talking about $8 eggs or $9. They finally got them back down. Going up on prices. Guys, anybody in, go check out Denton Laser Engraving. He has some really cool, I don't know if you have a video on them, but man, those are awesome. And what's funny is, I've just kind of been gathering just different information on pricing and some different topics. And I'm just now looking at this. I was like, I'm just going to hop on and talk about this. And what's funny is one of the topics is communicating price changes to your customers. So shoot, you've already done that. And I know that's not easy for everybody. That's a conversation that might not be easy to have, is letting people know, hey, I know you bought this last month for this price, but I'm having to go up. And I think that's where you have to really build that relationship. You have to show your value. Oh, because let's face it, anybody can do it cheaper. Doesn't mean they can do it better. But real quick, I'm just going to go over everything once more. Anybody that's joined in, we're just talking about pricing your items. If you're selling anything on Etsy Marketplace, your website, for your side hustle, that one, you've got to consider your costs. You got to consider what you're wanting to pay yourself. If you are going to pay yourself, you might not. You might just reinvest everything back in, and that's kind of what I'm doing. Got to understand your breaking even point. Got to understand your profit margin. What do you want to make on top of that? Got to understand market value. Me, I understand the market value, but I'm always trying to exceed it, because I truly believe that I can put more value in a product than someone else. A lot of people don't want to. They don't see that. and that's why they're okay pricing their items the same as anybody else. Outnumbered, not. I'm not sure if you're talking to who you're talking to, but if you're talking to me, shoot me a message on stuff like that. Right now, I'm working on these podcasts that I record on TikTok, and I edit everything down and repost it. So I'm more than willing to go live with people, but I try to get these one a day podcasts done that I edit for YouTube and to launch my podcast. But more than willing to, definitely. And anybody that's looking at starting, any type of podcast or YouTube, when you go live, you can go to your replay and download them and repost them on YouTube or your podcast platform for your audio. So just a little tidbit there. So, but no, that's really about all I have, guys. Just I know a lot of people have been hitting me up on how I price my items, and like how I price my items could be night and day different than what they need, but the baseline, in my opinion, stays the same. So, no, hey, yeah, definitely shoot me a message. I'm more than happy to discuss this topic again, and it doesn't have to be anything, like I said, for my podcast or anything. If we just want to go live, anybody, a little collaboration, live, I'm always down for. So for sure. But that, like I said, that's really all I have, guys. Yeah, I've been hit up quite a bit on TikTok and YouTube on pricing stuff, and even though it seems really simple, that it's like, okay, I know my material cost, I know this and that, but some people don't understand, that they're like, okay, well, I bought the leather. Well, yeah, you had your leather, but you use glue, you use any type of burnishing gum, all your consumables, wood slickers. Like, people forget to include these little things. Your preventative maintenance stuff, like your machine cost, like you should be factoring that in, because if you're a woodworker, you should be factoring in your saw blades somewhere, because the saw blades will eventually dull. You'll eventually have to replace them, or if you send them off to have them sharpened or new teeth put on. I've seen different videos on that. I'm not too into that, but like, you've got to factor in wear and tear and consumables. Yeah, they don't. And I understand, like, like here, for instance, this is what I use for burnishing the edges on my leather, and it doesn't take much to do a wallet. I mean, we're talking like just a few cents, but that'll start to add up, because one of those cost, I don't know, like $8 or $9. I can't remember. But yeah, if you're not factoring in your consumables, you're not going to make any money. So, guys, I'm going to jump off. Like I said, shoot me a message. I would love to. I definitely love to do some lives with people and discuss anything y'all got going on. So, I hope y'all have a good one. and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.